Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers. A nice, relaxing episode of Record Breakers on location. Once again. This time in a different city in Texas. A little bit north, 3 hours north or so, right outside of Fort Worth. A little suburb. Where are we here? Where are we?
I just call it Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, just outside. We're here hanging out, doing the Record Breakers thing. You know, it's a music podcast where we're hanging out, friends, talk about music, talk about albums, an album at a time, like a little book club for music. I'm Petey Rave, the guy in this chair with a full outline of the show. I have, I have to admit, I'm not the man with no plan.
You're the man with the marginal plan.
I'm the man with
a significant plan.
With the outline of the show right here and the script.
Look,
I have the script,
guys. Big baller Petey Rave not only has a plan for the Record Breakers podcast, he actually got a badge for South by Southwest and actually got some music. So stay tuned.
Look forward to that in the future. Did some mingling, some social stuff, some networking. That's the word.
That's the word.
Shaking babies, kissing hands.
Exactly.
You know how he do.
But yeah, here with me is my
Bill Clinton.
Except instead of McDonald's, it was Whataburger for me.
Good choice.
Of course, we have our team, we have our squad, we have my crew here. Well, not here, but over still in their homes. We've got David.
Taste the sun.
And we've got Drew.
Hey, what's going on?
Yes. And I'm not here by myself, as you saw if you're watching the video or you heard on the podcast. I'm here with our guest. Well, again, I'm the guest in their home. They're the guest on my podcast. Well, our podcast.
You're doing fine, Petey. You're doing fine.
The one, the only, the unofficial fourth member of Record Breakers, fifth member of the Record Breaker, the fifth Record Breaker.
Fourth.
Well, there's the four original, and who was the fifth? We didn't bring him on, even though he was the fifth, but he's still the fifth Record Breaker. The one, the only, Matthew Walton, aka Squiggles. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I am one painkiller in. I hope to be two painkillers in by the end of this podcast.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're here to talk about music, of course, not painkillers to drink.
Yeah, we're not making opiates.
No. We're here to talk about music, and we're talking about an album. And, of course, like we did the previous, well, I don't know when for you people it was time-wise, but the previous time I did, the previous recorded episode over here while I was here in Texas, it's the guests doing the album. So, Matt, what do you have for us?
I brought the 1972 album by Hot Tuna called Burgers.
Yes, sir. Burgers. Speaking of Whataburger, Whataburger it is. What an album. Let's talk about our expectations. David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I really wanted to take some time to really chew on this album, let it grill, let it sit, let it marinate for a little bit. I, again, had absolutely no expectations whatsoever besides who was involved on the project itself. I saw that it was written as a side project put on by members of the famed Jefferson Airplane. So I expected some rock and roll with the occasional deviation into folk and maybe some blues, something along the lines of maybe a touch of Creedence Clearwater Revival, something along those lines. And as always, I go in completely blind, but with an open mind.
Good old you can't go wrong with CCR. Kind of. At least I think so. Drew.
In appropriate doses.
Yeah, appropriate doses of CCR. Quality stuff. Drew, what expectations did you have?
Less than Deej. I had never heard this band before. And besides thinking, that's a funny name. And hey, that's a Rolls Royce on this cover of an album about, or labeled as such, food. So there's food, there's a Rolls Royce, and there's a food band name. I was real confused. I had no clue what we were about to get into. But that was exciting.
I didn't know quite sure. I wasn't quite sure. I didn't know quite sure. I wasn't quite sure what to expect myself either. Like, I knew that ideally it was going to be in a certain area, but it would probably be a nice diverse sound. I will say, Hot Tuna burgers, if it didn't already exist as this, would make a great album, a band name and album of a third wave ska band. Can you imagine a third wave ska band called Hot Tuna and the album Burgers?
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
Be pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not third wave ska, not at all, not nearly, not even close. Matt, how would you describe this album musically?
This album is, well, first of all, it was their first studio album, but it was their third album overall. The first two were live albums. Like David mentioned, it kind of started as an offshoot of Jefferson Airplane. I think they started out when Grace Slick was out for vocal surgery or something, and they ended up opening for themselves quite a bit. Hey, this blues stuff is fun. Let's keep doing that. As far as the actual themes and elements, though, a lot of fingerstyle blues based, even when it's still, even when it's electric instruments being used, it still is based in that kind of Reverend Gary Davis Piedmont blues style. A lot of the songs have this kind of halftime drum, which somehow, to me, makes it feel even more driving than typical, backbeat. And there's this a bit of fiddle or violin, depending on what you want to call it, that you might not even notice it at first, but it gives the album almost this kind of wild feel.
Oh yeah, no, I've definitely heard the fiddle. The fiddle is amazing on this album. Like there's some good moments on that for the fiddle. But let's talk about it from the guy's perspective. David, how would you describe this album musically?
This definitely reminded me of something of its time. It definitely had that kind of feel where these dudes were jamming in a room, playing for themselves, which was really cool because it sounded like they were really having a lot of fun. As Petey said, the fiddling is at a high level, and just, sorry to be repetitive, it's just a pretty okay rock and roll record with a little jumping off points to other places, which were really fun, kind of unexpected, but really fun.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, first, I want to give credit to the sheer amount of time that these two have apparently put together. Like, the two main guys behind this group have apparently been making music together for some odd 50 years, which is incredible to me. You think you'd get sick of doing a creative endeavor with a person after that long, but
at the 40th year mark, they should have strangled each other at that point, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they ride around in...
And again, they were in Jefferson Airplane, so a lot of it probably happened in that band.
That's fair.
And they probably did strangle each other.
They smoked out most of the anger.
Probably.
Just don't have it anymore.
Or a lot of it was Grace Slick.
A little bit. Just a little bit. The album itself was kind of really strange in the best possible way, for a lot of reasons for me personally. The sensibility of the record, the composition of it, like Deej said, felt very late 60s, early 70s. It had a bit of like that almost hippie-ish folk thing to it, but without leaving that like bluesy rock sort of sensibility, which I really, really dug. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of like Jefferson Airplane, as it were. But if you can dip that in a little bit of like Yardbirds, I'm in. That's a very simple way to get me interested. Not saying that the three guitars from the Yardbirds are close to here, but the musicianship is definitely there. And that it was just from a music side really fun. We talked a little bit in the Slack before the show, but what also really surprised me was while it had that sensibility to it, that it was made in 72 and it very had a late 60s, early 70s vibe to it compositionally. This was remastered in 96, and whoever remastered it put work in, because it's not a bad remaster. There have been remasters where it gets weird and dumb, and sort of ruins the feel of it. But I don't feel like this did. Like, it was a remaster. It brought everything up. Everything sort of got even out. You didn't lose any of the instrumentation, which is good, which happens with remasters sometimes. And it just sounded clean, which I think was really, really good. If I hadn't known this was from 72, I would have assumed it was recorded in like the 90s or early aughts. Like, it was that clean as far as the recording or the mastering quality goes, I should say, which I think was really cool and a cool mix with that sort of compositional style.
Yeah, I think it that was something that definitely stood out as far as like the mixing and the quality of the recording. But I think it's a lot of what everybody has said. A lot of those sounds that stand out. I think one of the things that I think I'll add is that it feels expedient. It had a lot of it's memorable, but it feels like it goes by in a flash. Not because it's like you forget that it happened, but because you're just so there's a lot of really cool moments. There's a lot of really cool tracks, but it doesn't feel like anything really drags on or overstays its welcome. And next thing you know, it's over. And because like you were into it, and like song's over, or if you're like me, you're listening on Spotify, suddenly it's some other song. It's like, this isn't on the record, and then you realize it went into the random queue that it does. But like it feels like it goes by quick. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but like so many of the different, not all of them, I'm not gonna say all the songs are memorable, but a few of them are, and there's a lot of cool moments throughout. But speaking of the songs specifically, let's drill in to talk about some key tracks. Matt, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
For me, the first one is kind of Highway Song. I like all of the tracks on this, but Highway Song I think is kind of one of the first great examples of that halftime drums I was talking about. That, you know, even though quite often halftime drums, it kind of feels like it's slowing down. In this one, it just kind of keeps, you know, you just keep moving forward. And you combine that with that nice, you know, the fingerstyle blues and the fiddle by Papa John Creech, which any musician who's earned the name Papa is okay in my book, I think.
Dog agrees.
I think so. And
Papa John's, better ingredients, better music.
God. The next one is Keep On Truckin', which
this was not the Keep On Truckin' that I expected when I saw the track list. It was like, oh, they're doing a cover of Keep On Truckin'. Okay. Oh, this is not what I saw coming.
No, this is some listeners, avid listeners may recognize this as having the same chord progression as Alice's Restaurant and 20 Beers by Glenn D. Lowe. This is another one with, it's the more of the backbeat, 4/4 feel, but it kind of keeps going, and again, that fiddle just really kind of makes it go kind of wild at the end. Along with, they borrow a verse from an older blues song called "What's That Smells Like Fish," and so I got to give a little love for that. The last one is Water Song, which, it starts out with this, it's an open G for the guitar nerds out there. And so it has this nice open feel where you get these really cool chord flavorings. And then from there, first of all, it starts out sounding like it's acoustic guitar backed by bass, bass and drums in the background. But then as it progresses, you kind of notice this fuzzed out bass played by Jack Cassidy, and it kind of takes a leading role where all of a sudden, the guitar, it's nice, but the bass really holds its own.
Yeah, I know some of those words. Deej, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Ode for Billy Dean. Throughout the course of this album, I was hoping for one song that was just a straight-up blues jam. And this was the one I was looking for, and I loved it. It did not disappoint. Ode for Billy Dean. I felt the same way about Sea Child. That one was enjoyable too. And also Water Song. Like I said, Keep On Truckin', not a cover version of the song by Eddie Kendricks, but good nonetheless. But definitely Ode for Billy Dean.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, True Religion started with just some simple Americana to it that I really, really can dig on. Just appreciated that sort of gentle beginning.
Yeah. It really sets the pace early on,
yeah,
so well.
You think, oh, okay, it's gonna be this. Nope.
And then it gets weird with a song like Water Song, where the Water Song, the two instrumentals I really want to hit on. The Water Song, because has this plucking strings, very movement oriented bits to it that really feel like a stream or like a river, like you're on the water sort of feel to it, which I really, really dig. And just some great musicianship in that. And then it ends with an instrumental called Sunny Day Strut, which sort of taps into a little bit of all the things they were taking on the other songs in one instrumental and just keeps bouncing around, which I think was really, really cool. And just a really neat idea for the last song to remind you of all the other bits and pieces that have hit by just going through them in little waves, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are solid tracks. Yeah, True Religion is fantastic. Highway Song, I think I'll shout that out particularly because of the enjoyment of me driving up from Austin to Dallas to Fort Worth, I should say, and playing this on repeat a few times because just in preparation. And Highway Song, just listen to Highway Song while on the highway. The song was moving along. I wasn't because I was stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, but...
Did you at least get kolaches?
No.
Oh,
I should have.
You should have.
What are you doing?
I even thought about texting you and saying, hey, get some kolaches on your way up here.
I got to do that. I'll do it on the way down.
You're going back towards Austin, right?
Yes.
Find you a Round Rock Donuts.
I think I saw some on the maps. I will do that. We'll do that.
I'm gonna Google kolaches.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
Welcome to heaven.
Yes. But yeah, Highway Song, perfect for listening to on the highway. And of course, and another one that I think was a really memorable and really fun track. Let Us Get Together Right Down Here. That is a real good, fun toe tapper banger of a track. It's a fun track. It's danceable. At least I find myself kind of like just bopping my head.
I'm swinging my whole body to that one.
Yeah, and then like I feel like that's the party banger right here in Fort Worth, Texas.
Reverend Gary Davis, party bangers.
Exactly, the right party.
The right one.
Yeah. The kind of parties that play both kinds of music, country and western.
Country and western.
Yeah, exactly.
I prefer western and swing.
That's true. That's here. But that's not a Blues Brothers reference.
Fair enough.
Exactly. But those I think are some of the really solid tracks. But let's bring it back around the horn. Let's talk about some cuckoos and thoughts. Let's bring it into the home. Deej, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Upon further review, maybe my comparison to Creedence Clearwater Revival wasn't completely on the mark, but I feel like it might be in the same space. This swings, whereas Creedence Clearwater Revival has a twang, where this swings. Again, as Drew said, the remaster of this is really, really enjoyable. This was a pretty fun little piece of harder than psychedelic, but not quite metal rock for its time. It also does not go into SpongeBob meme freeform jazz territory like I usually enjoy from the likes of King Crimson or early Genesis, and it's not as over-the-top and bombastic and blah like the Jimi Hendrix experience during this time. But it's a pretty good rock and roll record. That's the best thing I can say. It's just a really good rock and roll record that is fortunate to have a great remaster. And yeah, like Petey said, you can definitely drive down the highway to this, no question.
Yes.
I got nothing bad to say about it.
Fantastic. Drew.
Maybe a little bit more of the blues?
A little bit. Could use some more blues.
Check out their first album, Hot Tuna, titled Hot Tuna.
Do they have a song called Hot Tuna?
No, but I'm told that the name came from the verse saying, "What's that smells like fish?" Somebody yelled out "Hot Tuna" from the audience.
Yes. That's fantastic. There's a lot of other things they could have yelled.
Oh, yeah.
But they probably did yell that.
Probably so.
They just
That's
didn't
just
name the
the
band.
one that could be published.
Yes. It's like,
The chef was not on one of his better days that night.
Yeah.
no. It would have been hard to sell a band called Smelly Vagina.
Whoa, Petey!
Hey,
about
you're playing
food.
Blue. Well,
God, getting lewd here. Jeez.
That would be a punk band, I think.
Yeah. You're a hardcore band plays
Yeah.
at a random like
Andy's Bar in Denton.
in East 6th Street, not in proper 6th Street in
Right.
Austin, like way further east in
Yeah.
a like place that looks like just like a house, but is a
see,
club.
I was thinking it would be more of like the punk bands you hear from like Russia that get like arrested.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that would be more.
Where were we? Drew.
Or maybe a really raunchy girl hip-hop group from the
Yes.
90s.
Not sure. Drew. What would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
This album is one of those situations where you look up where these musicians sort of came from and like who they were playing around and their history, and then you listen to this record and you're like, sometimes it's just as easy as looking at the sum of the parts and being like, oh yeah, no, there's gonna be good music there.
Yeah.
Cool. Like it's the Golden State Warriors. It's you can put all these pieces together and it's gonna work. It's fine. Like, what are you doing? Sometimes supergroups don't work. I might get roasted for this, but that chicken foot, not very good.
No.
But sometimes you just get like good musicians together and guess what happens? Good music comes out. It has a lot of different things that go on, but I think it works.
Yeah, I think that there's something really cool and fun and classic about this. It's good rock and roll music with bluesy feels, and it has a lot of those elements that they bring from the other groups that I wasn't aware of because I was still too busy to do a lot of research. But yeah, I can hear that in what the music is now hearing about some of the elements, some of the bands that came before it, and yeah, it's really cool. It's really it gets in there, gets your toes tapping, and gets out like. And it's really fun to listen to, really engaging, really cool sound. Like musicianship is really cool. The guitars are really cool. The fiddles are really good. Like it's got everything you want from something like this. So I think that is really, at the end of the day, what is really like the takeaway is that everything you want from something like this, which is really fantastic. Yeah, Squiggles. What would be your conclusion at the end of it all?
It's kind of interesting. I always think of Hot Tuna, even this album, as being a blues band, but when you actually think about it, it is, like y'all are saying, a lot more, this one in particular, a lot more rock and roll. I think, the first side, if we're going to go back in time to where albums had sides, the first side is really good. The second side is great. Granted, Sea Child was on the first side, but Sea Child and on, I think it's all great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's they were good then. They're good now. They're still touring. If they're in your city, go and see them.
Yeah, if you like this sound, go see them.
Especially you, Drew. Yorma lives in Ohio.
So that's the mandate. Does the Record Breakers guarantee?
I didn't know that.
Way south, Pomeroy, Ohio.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he gets around.
Gets around, round. He gets around. Yeah. Those are our those are our thoughts on Hot Tuna burgers. We'll check it out. Now we get to our haiku reviews, the main event of the evening, what you've all been waiting for. Where we all sum it all up in poetic form. Let's see. Let's start it off. Deej, what is your haiku?
Not spectacular. Dudes rocking out in a room. It catches a mood.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Got off the airplane and ate me a great sandwich. Hot tuna burger.
Exactly. My haiku, fun bluesy music, perfect for sleep napping, knee slapping fun, and to tap your toes. Or sleep napping,
Whatever. I'm not judging.
Yeah, no, ain't no judging here. No judgment. We don't kink shame it here in the Record Breakers family.
I do.
Well, Deej does, but we try to keep him under control. We'll don't worry about him. Whatever floats your boat. I got you. Matt,
nasty.
Finally, what is your haiku?
What's that smells like fish? Hot Tuna has the secret. Truck my blues away.
Mm-hmm. What's that smells like fish?
Food, if you really want to know.
Yeah. And you know what? And no matter where you are right now, it is not too early for a fish sandwich.
Too early for a fish sandwich?
No, it is not.
Especially if you're around a Whataburger.
Yeah.
They're open 24/7.
Exactly. And you can I think you can almost always get breakfast. Almost.
11 to 11.
11 to 11.
PM to AM, not AM to PM.
PM to AM. So, 11. Any part of the night, you can get breakfast. It's nothing quite like
There's nothing like rolling into a Whataburger at 10:30
This is also White Castle.
and realizing that they don't have breakfast yet.
There's nothing quite like rolling into a Whataburger drunk at 3 o'clock in the morning and having some breakfast.
Yeah.
This is also White Castle.
Exactly. Everybody has their beautiful, beautiful places.
Nothing like rolling into a Chick-fil-A drive-thru and realizing it's Sunday.
The Lord's Day.
Yeah.
The holy chicken sandwich.
Chicken be praised.
Yes. That being
Look,
said,
fried chicken's not good. Like, let's be fair about this.
yeah,
It's good.
It is.
it's but you can replicate it. You look up the recipe. Just do it. That being said, Hot Tuna Burger, you can find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your dude diligence. Like I said with the previous on location shoot, I don't know what's going to happen next week because I got to get home. I've got to put everything together. I've got to record, I've got to edit, and I've got to schedule our recordings after this. So it might be something this, it might be something that, it might be that nerdcore
I might
rapper.
have an album again. I don't know.
We'll see. This might come at the end of
Petey,
a whole
if need
cycle
be,
with
if you
Squiggles.
get lost in Texarkana or something, let me know. I can back you up with the recording. I can come out of the bullpen. We'll figure it out, everybody. We'll figure it out.
Not Texarkana.
So get off of Petey's back, will ya? Get off the man's back.
I hope you don't have a diehard listenership in Texarkana.
Because we don't mess with Texarkana.
No. They're in a time warp there. It's weird.
That being said, now it's time to the end. You can find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at XTruciferX. I'm at PD Rave. Matt is at MRiddickW. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelli.net for this and other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube. You can find us everywhere you find podcasts. Like, share, subscribe. Do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
It's the Cambrian explosion.
Diamond Club. Hope you enjoyed it.
Record Breakers is filmed before a live studio audience.